Lauren Boebert is unfortunately back in the news, this time for apparently asking a group of Orthodox Jews at the Capitol if they were conducting reconnaissance. They did not like this. Their host, Representative Tom Suozzi, who is hosting the group there at the Capitol, didn't like this. They were at the Capitol to commemorate the 41st anniversary of the end of the Iran hostage crisis. They've apparently, the group of Orthodox Jews that were there have been backing the representative's plan to recognize the hostages with a congressional gold medal when they unfortunately ran into Lauren Boebert. Near an elevator, by the way, if you're gonna run into her at the Capitol, don't be near an elevator. The worst things happen there. One witness said that the group, along with other members of Congress, was waiting for that elevator. When the doors opened, Boebert stepped out and looked at the group of visitors from head to toe. Boebert then asked if they were there to conduct reconnaissance. A rabbi who was there says, when I heard that, I actually turned to the person standing next to me and asked, did you just hear that? You know, I'm not sure to be offended or not. I was very confused. And the rabbi added that I think understandably people are very sensitive now, especially after what happened in Texas this past weekend when an armed man held 4 people hostage at a synagogue. So we're gonna have her responses, the representatives. But Brett, what did you make of this when you first saw it?
I thought that Lauren Boebert, like most Republicans, loved Jews, supported Israel, but then to call Israelis essentially terrorists or Jews, assuming they're Israelis, essentially looking for doing reconnaissance for some kind of terrorist plot. Lauren Boebert seems to be one of God knows how many hidden Republicans actually secretly hate Jews and are turning on them. I think if the Republican Party apparatus had any amount of decency, honor, and consistency, they would target Lauren Boebert and on behalf of Israel, oust them from the party and any participation they might have in anything remotely, tangibly close to lawmaking or dollar appropriation. And as Congress has the power of the purse in America for Israel's sake, they must throw her out of her seat in Congress.
I hear you. I don't think they're going to. We're gonna go through her response, and there's a couple different layers of this. So I, first of all, when I first saw this, thought, like we know from experience covering the news that the Republican claims to be against anti-Semitism are a cudgel to use on Democrats, and they pragmatically like having Israel specifically as an ally for foreign policy purposes. They also their base is riddled with disgusting anti-Semitism. But that said, I wouldn't imagine that she would, based on anti-Semitism, see a group of Orthodox Jewish individuals and say that. So I assumed, did she see them and think that they were Muslim somehow? Because she's more explicitly Islamophobic than she is anti-Semitic. I know she's hateful in a lot of different ways, but that was my first thought. Is she getting her isms mixed up?
She is stupid, John. So I can't say with certainty about someone this painfully dumb, really anything. There is no confusing Orthodox Jews with Muslim people, period. You'd have to be pretty stupid. But then again, I just said she's really, really stupid.
Okay, so now
that's insane that you just wouldn't.
Okay, I'm not saying I would. I'm trying to understand an insane story. So
I mean, some are saying shalom, some are saying salam. Those are wildly different words.
Yes. Anyway, when asked about the remark, Boebert said she made it in reference to criticism she has received over giving tours of the Capitol prior to the January 6th attempted insurrection. Quote, I saw a large group and made a joke. Sadly, when Democrats see the same, they demonize my family for a year straight. So she thinks the idea that she was involved with the insurrection is a joke. It's not. So that's your explanation. And it's weird and she's the worst, but I think it makes sense. Except that she then added one more thing. And she says, I'm too short to see anyone's yarmulkes. Well, if the joke was just that a group is being led on a tour of the Capitol. Ha ha, remember when people said I did that? She just said, well, so if you had seen the yarmulkes, you wouldn't have made the joke? What would that have to do with the reference to the January 6th tour? So is it about them being Jewish? Because she gave an explanation that makes it seem as if it's agnostic to any religious thing, but then she added on something that again made it seem as if it was religious. Is she just stupid? Just stupid and folksy?
That's the most David Brent defense. Like it's an explicitly British office. Like, oh, I'm not racist, but I'll make another joke that is just as bad in the wake of it. You know, just to keep it light. She is really dumb. The most compelling thing to me is that people like Lauren Boebert simultaneously love Israel and think they can just like, they don't like Jews. They just don't like them. They just don't like Jews, and that's it. And that's what it came down to. And we do have evidence to say that these guys, the people like Lauren Boebert and her supporters would be the ones we'd more likely be able to go up to and say, are you conducting reconnaissance? Because they're the ones who actually did carry out what would be defined classically as a terrorist attack.
Yeah. We saw them. By the way, ideologically, even their love of Israel, like for the true believers at least, is like apocalyptically self-serving, quite literally.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.